Okay, guys, welcome to episode 3 of Two and a Half Men. I am your host, Lewis Walters, and I've got my good friends with me, Lewis Ross and Howard Jones. How are we, guys?
Oh, good. Thank you very
Good,
much.
thank you. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm ready to talk about this weekend. It's good to have the Premier League back. There's been some good games, some boring games, some very boring games as well.
Mixed bag. Very mixed bag.
That's Sunday, Jesus Christ. But first of all, I do want to say a massive thank you to everybody that has been supporting the channel, everybody that has been taking their time to watch our episode so far and to also watch our shorts, which has been fantastic. We didn't expect anything like this to happen so far, and we thought we'd have to kind of build very, very, very minor steps, and it's kind of gone a lot better than we intended it to so far. So yeah, really, really appreciate it, guys. Keep up that support, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. So first of all, what we want to talk about is not actually the games that have happened, but it's about kind of like the stuff that the refs have changed and kind of how this impacts sometimes the lower clubs and how it has sometimes a good impact on the bigger clubs. So first of all, we talk about refs, extra time, red cards, and kind of the impact that it's had on games like the Spurs and the Villa game. So my first one is probably going to be around the extra time, because we've seen a lot where we're getting big extra times. It seems to be a running trend where the first half doesn't seem to have a lot, unless there's a big impact, unless there's something that goes on in that game. It's usually about 4 or 5 minutes, which is standard. But that second half always seems to be hitting that 8-9 minute mark. For sometimes unknown reasons, it doesn't seem to get that crazy. And kind of what I want to put to you guys is, do you think that this has a better impact on the bigger clubs? So I'm talking probably your Villas upwards. To someone, I'm not saying that Villa's going to finish 8th, but kind of like them teams 8th and above, where they have bigger squads with better talent. And when I say like bigger talent, I mean when you're bringing on bigger talent. It's not just your first 11, but your subs as well. And the impact that that's going to have on these small teams that are trying to hold out for any points they can possibly get. So I kind of want to put it to you guys. What do you think?
Oh, I like it. Maybe not the way they're going about it in terms of the way the refs. I need to make more sense of what time they are adding on. I still haven't worked that out yet. I don't know where the time comes from, but I like the way the games are all the way till the end. Like, I think people think that they can actually fight all the way through to the second half. You are right though, it does make the first halves quite cagey, or it can do, but I do like the way that there's more time, because obviously being a Villa fan, and we came back pretty much 85th minute, and then the rest of the stoppage time, I can't really complain at the moment. I'm sure I will have my complaints if it was on the other foot.
Do you think you'd have a different opinion if you'd lost that game because of that extended extra time?
Yes. Well, it depends on how we lost. So if we conceded in that time, then I would probably feel a bit miffed about it. But I like the fact that if they scored and made it 2-0, for example. But I like the fact that it gives teams a chance, doesn't it? I mean, 4 or 5 minutes was the maximum a few years ago, and now you're looking at the 9-10s easily, and that is a lot. That is a transition of a game. That's a good part of the game that people actually put tactics in to think, actually, I'm going to attack for 10 minutes, or I'm going to defend for 10 minutes. It's a sizable chunk. So
it all started from the World Cup, then, it?
Yeah, and I actually think it worked. And also, it's there to stop people time wasting. I can't stand time wasting, even though I'm a fan of a club who has one of the biggest time wasters in between the sticks of Emi Martinez. But I do not like time wasting.
Well, everybody does that dance.
I'm all for that chat.
I don't think it's a good idea to have like 10 minutes added on. I think if there's serious injury, then obviously you have to accommodate for it. But they're stopping the clock now for throw-ins, substitutions, everything is like a minute added on. It seems like it don't even take a minute, and they're still adding a minute on.
But it's it's taken a mick for taking them. Some players literally, they just, it may be the way they were trained or the area where they're brought up, or they just naturally time waste. They just take their time. They know they're a goal ahead.
Ain't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's annoying.
It is annoying if you're on the end of the losing team, but if your team's winning against a big club, you're going to try and time waste, ain't you? I mean, like Louis said, is it fair on the smaller teams compared to the big teams? And I don't think it is, because say, look, if a Burnley is playing against Man City, that first game of the season, and they're holding on to a 0-0 draw, and they've got 10 minutes added on, the City can get a goal in the 99th minute.
Yeah, but
it's that scale, isn't it? It's that scale that you have to weigh up. Is that you've got on one hand, this is an entertainment sport, and on the other hand, you've got the passion of your team, and it can tip in either way. You can have one where it could actually kind of condemn you to the championship for some teams, isn't it? So it's kind of, do we want that entertainment scale, or do we want teams to be scrapping for every point? And I feel like it kind of takes away from that. I do agree that the whole ball in play thing does need to be addressed, but I think that it has gone about it the wrong way. One of the biggest issues I have for me is that they add on time for people celebrating. So we were looking at things where we go, let's stop them wasting time. You're not wasting time when you're celebrating a goal. It's a natural reaction. So I can understand doing it for subs and for maybe even throw-ins to that effect, or fouls, things like that. Celebrating a goal doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand that.
I think they've done it because people used to celebrate goals crazily, and they did do it just to waste time. They took ages to get over to their half to start the game again. And back in the day, time wasn't added on like it is now onto the end of that. Yeah, my man ran to another pitch to celebrate in front of fans. So no, it's
that's also what I said. It's taking away the entertainment. You've got to be able to interact with your fans, and if you can't do that because of some time added on, I think it's ridiculous.
No, I think that's a small part of it. I think celebrating with the fans is fine. I get that. I know they're adding time, but everyone expects that as well. But in terms of the way, as you said earlier, in regards to people playing for a draw, for example, and it's like it's gamemanship to slow the game down and do that. But surely some people, I wouldn't like that if my team did that. There's a way to hold out for a draw, and I don't think slowing the game down, not having the ball in play, is a way I would. Don't get me wrong, it's always I would take points whatever they come, but I wouldn't like it. Like, I wouldn't. It's not a way to play football. Everyone thrives to play football by scoring the most goals, and if you're good defensively, then you're good defensively. But that's when the ball's in play, you're doing something about it. I don't really agree with people taking time for throws, because that's going to win them the game. Like, you're going to look back on the game and think, okay, like, it didn't show much. Didn't really do much, just kind of wasted a bit of time.
Yeah, but if you're a smaller team coming up against like the likes of Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and like Louis said, if you ain't got the depth and you're probably more tired than the big team would be, then that's the way you're going to play anyway.
Yeah, but that's not entertainment, as Louis said. I don't think that's entertaining.
It gives you that thing as well, though, doesn't it? Are the games easier to predict because of the bigger squads and the longer time? So
yeah, I think they are easy to predict.
Yeah. So with that game, like the Villa game, look at the Spurs game. Would those games have ended in the draw last season? And it looks to me that probably could have been a yes. But then the entertainment factor around those is the thing that gets a lot higher, isn't it? So them scoring late goals means more entertainment. Obviously not for the team that's lost, but for the rest of the Premier League. Like, I'm looking at the scores from the weekend, and like I said, that Spurs one probably would have ended maybe 1-1. That Villa game would have ended probably 1-1 as well. So then there's only a few games in there really that have got high goals, and then the Sunday games was obviously an absolute ball fest. So I think it's definitely food for thought, because it's definitely having an impact on the league, and I feel like definitely teams like Palace would have, and Sheffield United definitely would have benefited from those points if those high exercises would have been there. So,
and I was speaking to with a bloke from work, and he was on about the Sheffield United and Spurs game, and he said, like, that would have been a draw, like a couple of seasons ago, and he said now because he actually said because the extended time in the games that the league's just more predictable. All the top teams are pretty much going to win against all the smaller teams.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to see when there's going to be some games where the team who's not like the lesser teams probably the wrong way of putting it, but say like Sheffield United are playing Arsenal and Sheffield United are 1-0, 89 minutes. You would have thought, okay, we've got to hold it for 2-3 minutes. When you're there going, we've got to hold it for 10 minutes here potentially. That 10 minutes can feel like a whole of a game, and then you've got Arsenal.
Like now they've got to look at the 90th minute as the 80th minute.
Yeah. I was looking at. Go on ahead.
Sorry, they've just got to change their thinking. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that Brighton and Brentford were in the position of, if you're thinking of clubs that are smaller or lesser, I guess they were up there, but they've got good managers that managed to change the way the play, changed the way the subs go in and more impact it, even though I still don't think much of those players, but they're still doing the job. So I don't think it's for those teams to start thinking a bit cleverly. Like it can happen. I don't know. Like Tottenham should have lost that game really, because they scored in the 90 plus 8 minutes. Like that's crazy.
And I think for us all to have a clear split opinion on it, there's obviously a problem, ain't there?
Yeah, of course there is.
Well, yeah.
You see subs as well.
Yeah.
Subs are a lot later in the games as well, aren't they? Yeah. You're not seeing subs at the 60th minute. You're seeing subs in like the 75th minute, the 80th minute, and the subs that you're bringing on the 89th for the 90th minute aren't just seeing out the game. They're getting ready for like extra time.
Finishing off the game.
But it does depend on the game. I didn't even realise until I just looked that Newcastle made one sub. I haven't seen that in I don't know how long. I haven't seen someone make one sub in a game that now goes on for 100 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that.
I was like, no.
Do you know what makes me laugh as well is the managers, including my own manager from my own club. So you got Arteta, you got Klopp, and you got Pep moaning about player conditions and everything like that. But you look at the subs that they make; they barely make any. But yet they still run this narrative that player welfare needs to be looked at. But then they're not making subs at key times. So it's rather they're thinking that they don't trust the dropping quality of their subs, or really that argument isn't really there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see, because I think it's crazy. So we've only got a few more minutes that we can kind of put onto this, but so I kind of wanted to raise something that we kind of discussed a little bit off screen yesterday. Is I think that the Premier League players are starting to not come around, but learn from what the refs are implementing, because there was definitely 1 week where I think there was 5 red cards in 9 games on one weekend, which was just madness. But we come back to this weekend, and I know that Ross has got a point to raise in regards to the other cards, but in regards to the red cards, there was only 1 this weekend, and there wasn't many games that I saw where I thought there's going to be a red card here, because it seems like players are going, we can't do this anymore. We can't take the mick on throw-ins. We can't take the mick on free kicks. We can't kick the ball away. We can't walk off the pitch slowly, because they know that they're going to be punished for it. And it's nice to see. I do think the refs are being a bit too harsh. I do think it needs to calm down slightly. But I do think we are seeing a change in mentality from the players to make sure that they're not taking the mick.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think that's exactly right. I think they have to. It'd be interesting if Mourinho, for example, because I think he kind of promotes that.
He's the master of it.
Yeah, he is. So he would be probably sent off most matches because but then his players do what they need them to do, and it's not about that. I kind of like the nice shift they're trying to get, because I want to see a ball on the pitch. I want to see skills. I want to see passing moves. I want to see competitive games. I don't mind. Come on, man. But I don't mind. I don't mind if there's fouls or whatever. I know fouls happen and people try and get the ball. That's fine. The rolling around, the petulance, but I know that comes with passion. So I'm still up in the air with it. Some people's passion just come out like that. They kick a ball away. But if they get a yellow card, well, they know that they've got one and the reasons why. It's the arguing back that I don't really understand. It's like kind of like, you've done wrong, so why are you trying to argue back with the refs? So I like the fact that the refs are kind of like, well, I've given you a yellow a second ago. If you're talking back to me, I'm about to give you another one. And it's that learning process, which is, I think it will make for a better game, but it's always that thing where hopefully goes to the Premier League down to the grassroots, and it bleeds through into the Championship as much. But I know it's been crazy in that league since the start, especially with the extra time. I heard there's one game I had like 15 minutes.
It was that first week. I think it's calmed down a bit now. That first week was crazy.
And that leads into all the cards, or because people are getting more frustrated. And obviously, when you're more tired, I know when I'm tired, I'm angry. So these players, I'm miserable. But these players must be, I'm glad that it'd be interesting. I think it's going to peak and trough. It's going to peak and trough, but it'd be interesting to see what happens in the big games when you got like next week, for example, Arsenal, Tottenham. Be very interesting to see what happens.
Easy win.
I don't think it's easy as you think.
No, I don't think you will either. Rossi, you raised a good point about yellow cards. You were saying off screen.
I've just thought about one of your team actually when Tomiyasu got that yellow card. I mean, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to cut down the time waste and discipline the players in a better way. But it was Havertz who was time wasting during that game. Tomiyasu had the ball for, I think it was half the time he did, and he got the yellow card.
4 seconds.
So there's got to be some sort of lining put on it. Because
retrospective. I always think they need to just literally do what they do in the game. After the game, someone reviews the game and says, actually, that's not a card, that is a card, and sort it out afterwards.
Well, yeah, because when you've got a red card in the game, and like the Harvey Elliott one, no, McAllister, sorry, weren't it? That was overturned. So I agree with what you're saying. I think you can look at it after and say, that's it, that was a yellow card, that wasn't, blah, blah, blah. And sort of get, because during the game, it's obviously it's fast paced. You only see it once unless it goes to VAR. So it's kind of hard to make on pitch decisions all the time and get them correct.
Yeah, it's I'm going to have the closing point on this one, where I think it's just one of those very difficult things, especially with the Tomiyasu one. I just thought was just that, because the second one wasn't even a yellow card either. But I generally think that they shouldn't even be looking at after the games. The refs should just be trained in the right ways to make the right decisions at the right times, because the decisions that they're making are, and it's in regards to football, they're life changing in regards to football, because it's the difference between points. It's the difference between entertainment and the game. He sends Tomiyasu off. We have to then go full drop back. Yeah. And then we have to then cling on to the game, and it ruins it. And it ruins it when it was totally unnecessary. And I don't know, to be fair, when I think about that scenario, guys,
another team getting relegated.
Yeah. But that Tomiyasu one where with Havertz holding the ball, I wouldn't know how to remedy that, because he's timing it all up. And you kind of think, well, if Tomiyasu is holding the ball, could he just walk over to Havertz and go, there's the yellow card? So then you wouldn't be moaning and going, but then Havertz has already given the ball. So it's kind of that one where you maybe should have just gone, I'll have to let that one go because I'm on the fence about it. So I'm not too sure. But we'll move on to our next section. So the next section, we're going to talk about a couple of games. And I think I'm going to start with the Wolves-Liverpool. So we're going to talk about Man United as well shortly. And this Wolves-Liverpool game is a very, very interesting game for me, because I'm not a Wolves fan. I'm from Wolverhampton, so I always keenly watch them. But it was such a weird game. It's definitely a game of two halves, and it's how it will put on.
Do have 2 halves.
Well, yeah, there's bad in it. Well, it seems a lot more now with this extra time. But how it will show you on the screen. We kind of look at how the games are contested and who holds the ball. And I was looking at Liverpool over the 5 games that they've played so far. And it shows a very split in the middle of Liverpool, that they can't control the games. And I'm seeing a running trend with this where they're conceding chances. And I'm not going to say they're getting away with it, because they're doing very well. They're attacking very well. But I do feel there's going to come a time where they're going to start conceding goals, because I'm not seeing great defending. And I think Rossi, as a Liverpool fan, you can agree, you're not seeing great defending in these games. You're seeing great attacking. And I think if Wolves took their chances in the first half, which is the minor splits in the Premier League, which would be the difference between winning and losing, Liverpool could have easily been 2 or 3-0 down in that first half, and I think that kind of deterred Wolves in the second half because they were so kind of lackluster in the second half because they just went, we could have took our chances there, and the one that the Wolves striker missed was just absolutely shocking. I can't believe he missed it. Cunha, and I was just like, how have you managed? Obviously, I'm not a professional footballer. I don't deal with the pressures that they have to deal with. But as someone who cost as much as he did, who gets paid as much as he done, he should have done a lot better with it. So, kind of want to put it to you guys. What did you think about the game?
Hey, Voss, you go first. Go on, Voss.
Well, I agree with what you're saying about the defending, but you've got to put into it that we didn't have Trent, we didn't have Van Dijk. We had a youngster making his first Premier League debut. I can't really mind about the attacking and defending. Midfield, sorry. The first half, we did get knocked about the park a bit. But I think Klopp must have had a good team talk, and second half we showed what we can do. And I think once we get I don't think we properly found our first starting 11. Because you've got to think, where does Gravenberch come in? Is he a sub? Is he a starter? We brought Endo, but he's not really played as much as I'd wanted him to. He's still keeping McAllister as that defensive midfielder. He's trusting Curtis Jones over them players to start, and Harvey Elliott comes on. I don't know who is our starting 3 midfielders, but so far so good. I mean, Szoboszlai is probably our best player so far this season.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks really good.
I think if our best defenders can stay fit, like Kanate, Van Dijk, Robertson, Trent can't really defend, but obviously what he does going forward, he's
Liverpool fans, is that?
I'm not saying he can't defend, but that's his weakness. He's weak, his point is defending. But going forward, the long passes, he can even get a couple of goals. But I think we're all right, I think we could be up there. I'm confident we'll get top 4 this season.
I reckon Wolves can look back at that game and actually feel gutted that they missed their chances, but
they're very wasteful.
But also positive because of the way they took that game. I mean, and also it's kind of, I like having discussions about what if they scored and all this, that, the other, because then it just goes into some sort of fantasy world where you can just predict what you want. But Liverpool are always a reacting team, so as if they react really well. So if they conceded a goal, their attack just seems to amp up about 2 or 3 gears.
And that's what the top teams do, don't they? You look at City, they go a goal down, and so all of a sudden this team just kills you. Arsenal are now doing it. Big teams do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's going to be down to O'Neill to try and stop the amount of mistakes. I mean, the keeper made a mistake, didn't he? He picked it out. It was awful, and then as soon as that happens, just pass, goal. Yeah. It's just like, well, that didn't help. So it's these small things that I think they need to change. But after seeing them this season against 2 of the top boys, which is Man U, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and Liverpool, they've actually put themselves. They played quite well in those games.
Yeah,
and could have. Yeah, they competed and should have got at least a draw against a Man U. And I suppose it's all about woulda, shoulda, couldas in this game, but they could have with the amount of chances and the way the stats.
Should have, really.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, so far this season, they've shown the exact problems they had last season. They can play good football, but they can't get the goals. And you're just seeing the same thing happening. And like you said, they played well against us, played well against United, but you can play as well as you want. It's the end result what counts. And if other teams around them are going to get results and they're going to miss out just because they can't finish the chances, they could slip into that bottom 3 and then end up being relegated because of bad attacking football.
Yeah, well, this is why I love this league. I mean, it's going to be so. As I said, it's probably about 3 or 4 games. You start to judge what's going to happen. So it'd be interesting to see what happens over the next. I don't know the fixtures Wolves have got next, but I'm hoping
they've got Luton. They've got Luton next. So.
Okay.
That's a tough game, you know, that is.
Well, someone said this to me the other day, and they were like, "Well, we've got Luton next. This is a big game. We could easily win this. We could score goals." And I went, "It seems like to me, it doesn't matter whether you're playing Man City or you're playing Luton. You're creating chances. Your issue is not creating chances. Your issue is taking chances.
Yeah, scoring.
So it doesn't matter whether you play someone who's really good or not that great in this league. You can't put away these chances. And I think it just needs to start clicking. Neto looks like a man possessed at the minute. The guy looks like he's so determined.
That first off against us, he was unreal.
That run into the box was quality.
Yeah.
And that Megs and Gomez, I don't know why he even chased him back. He might as well have just walked off the pitch because he absolutely tore him to shreds. So I am. It's mad because to say I'm impressed with Wolves because even though their map, it shows that they are contesting the big teams and they are. It kind of looks like they're Man City all the way up to the final third and they're turning to Everton. And you're just thinking, it's just mad. It's just absolutely mad. So I do hope that they get their shooting boots on because I do think they will be fine if they start converting the chances. So in regards to Liverpool, I was very surprised that he started Gakpo over Nunes. And this is one of my things with Klopp. It's like we all want to see. I don't care whether you're a Liverpool fan or an Arsenal fan, Villa fan, anyone in the Premier League. Nunes, yes, he provides you entertainment sometimes when he's just in every post going, but you want to see him get a run of games. Give this guy 10 games in the Premier League. Give him the chance to be consistent, and he probably will start banging in the goals. But you keep taking him in and out all the time, and yet maybe he's thinking, oh, I'll play him in the week or whatever. Just play him every game. That's what big clubs have. They have a striker that plays every single game. You see Harry Kane going, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to sit on the sidelines here. So someone else can have a go. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And I find it quite frustrating.
Yeah, but you've got to think, he come in last season, he didn't have the best of seasons. We got Gakpo in January, and he was playing quite well, to be fair. And I think so far this season, especially seeing like with the Newcastle game, I think Klopp's sort of seeing him as like an impact player. Like you think of the strikers in the league, and you couldn't think of anyone worse to come up against as an impact player in the last 20 minutes of the game. So that's the last person you want to defend against, someone who's quick, strong, just a nightmare to defend against. And I think that is Klopp is seeing him. I'll agree with you what you're saying. I want to see him play. I want to see him starting every game, really. But I think because he has that much of an impact off the bench, I think that's what Klopp is using him for at the minute.
I think it's a bit what Howard was saying earlier on. I do agree with you on what you're saying but then it seems like that's Klopp's mentality of being reactive. Like he's thinking, oh, maybe we need to bring Nunes on. I see said Nunes.
Who's Nunes?
When you bringing him on like 60, 70 minutes to have an impact on the game, when maybe you should already be winning 2-3-0 at that point. So I think it's something where I think that he actually doesn't trust the team that he's got at the moment, especially that back line. Because I know he's saying that Van Dijk was missing, and Trent was missing, but these have been a mainstay for like the last season and for the start of this season, and you've still struggled. So I think his mentality is a little bit like, I'm concerned that we could concede some goals, so I do need to hold some of these quicker players back who can create an impact. So I do agree with you, but it's a weird one. So let's move on to Man United, shall we? And I'm kind of one of these people, and it's probably going to be a bit of a hot take. I don't really like giving Man United that much airtime because I do feel like they get overhyped, and it seems to always be about Man United. And this current era isn't really reflective of that because Man United aren't as strong as they used to be. The way they approach their games is not as strong as they used to be. It seems like they are very much a counter-attacking team. I don't really feel like they know what to do with possession. I even called it on our last podcast that I thought that Brighton were going to win 3-1 because I just felt like Brighton are on the front foot. They play better football. I think if Rashford's not on it or Rashford's not scoring goals, that they can't score goals. And overall, I just kind of get a negative vibe from this Man United team. I don't know if it's Ten Hag's just fighting fires, or doesn't really know where to put players, or he doesn't know what his strongest first 11 is, or he's had injuries. But either way, there seems to be a lot going wrong there. And obviously, they're currently 11th in the league at the moment. And I think they are exactly where they belong at this present moment because they've just haven't been
I
that
think
good.
they're
And there's games.
there.
Yeah, well, there's games they've won. They shouldn't have won. The Wolves game, they shouldn't have beat them.
Was a robbery.
Yeah, shouldn't have beat them at all. So it's kind of what do you guys feel? What's going on at Man United at the moment? I don't want to get too much into the controversies in regards to Anthony. We can have a talk about Sancho because that's a bit more of an opinion base about what he's like. But it kind of the Sancho one is kind of a bit more insight into how that club is going at the moment. So what do you guys think about what's going on at Man United at the moment?
I think it's what we're hearing from media and press and stuff regarding the individual things that are going on with the individual players. That's what it sounds like individuals. It doesn't sound like the club that we all once knew, that were just, mates in and out of the, of the pitch. They were doing all that, they came through the youth together, all that stuff. They haven't got that, when you're playing like Ultimate Team, when you've got like certain players and they connect with each other, they've got connections, and that makes the team stronger. Yeah, that's the one. They haven't. That just literally doesn't seem like they've got that, and it's just snowballing for them, unfortunately. I still think they are a team that can still do bits. They've still got players. They've still got a squad. They did it. I don't mind Man U. I've got a few friends that are a Man U fan, so it's kind of hard to see them. it's hard to see. It's just not nice to see. But I do think Ten Hag's got he's just not that. He didn't come into this job for this, did he? This is not. He's not. He's just batting off the media. I mean, press conferences because he wants to focus on the team, but the team aren't helping him because they're doing whatever they want outside of what he needs them to do, and it's all being leaked, and no one's got control of any of the output. And like, there's obviously someone in the club that's just talking bits to a journalist's ear, like, "Oh, this person said this about my mum," or whatever it is. They're just saying random things, and it's coming onto the pitch, and then I think it's just the fans are hearing it, the fans are seeing it, and the one thing Ten Hag can try and do is sort out their football, and their football's not the best. I mean, if it wasn't for Rashford, like, he does look a different gravy. In that Brighton game, he had about 2 or 3 chances, and he was solo. He was just doing his bit, and if he was more clinical, it would have been a different story. But that's one player. Like,
how long do you think it will be until you think like Rashford will have enough of it and try and move on?
I think he'll stay.
Oh yeah,
he's
I think he'll stay.
Through.
But
unless Real Madrid can call him, I think if Real Madrid can call him, which I don't think they will, because I don't think he's on that. He's a good player. He's a really good player, but I always sit there and think, yeah, he makes changes in games, but then he kind of plays like left forward, and because he's not a winger, he's not a striker, he kind of fits into like a weird mould. So I feel like Man United have kind of building that team around him, where if he went to like a Real Madrid, I feel like they'd be like, you need to go and do as you're told and go exactly where you want to do. And I just don't know if that would kind of convert that well.
But don't you think if Mbappe went to Real Madrid that he could possibly get to PSG?
Do you remember when Man U played PSG?
Yeah.
And Rashford
was
the best player. He was the best player on the pitch for. Yeah. I think they played each other back to back on seasons after season. He was always coming out on top in that game, and that's like literally Rashford versus Mbappe, and he was actually coming out on top. Player. He was. There's still something like, the more I see Rashford, the more I like him. I think but I think personally, I think he can go to a Real Madrid. I understand what you're saying, but then I also think he won't move. I just think he stays there because he had a chance not so long ago when it was arguably worse than it is now.
Yeah.
And he stayed. So
I don't know if it is worse. I think it's worse now.
I think
the transfer market they had a lot of money to spend, and people could argue they've spent it well. But the main problem is they didn't get rid of the players they wanted to get rid of. Like, for example, McTominay, Maguire. And I think having players there who are not happy there or not wanted there, but I think that can have an effect on your club. And obviously, going on about Sancho, I think someone like he was meant to be like the next best thing for United, and he's come in. He's not really done anything to what his standards. I don't think he
doesn't see the way they play though, does he?
I just think he needs. I was thinking of a question actually. Like, would you take Sancho at your club? And the reason I ask this is because all I think he needs is a good manager that believes in him. Like, I don't think he needs much. Like,
I think a lot of players need that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he needs a team where the ball comes to his feet, and then there's players that are constantly running and moving about and intricate passing. He's fantastic at one-touch passing, and he kind of slips in that way. He's not a quick player, so if you're looking for a counter-attacking player, he's not going to give you that. He's going to slow the game down.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of player when a team's got their backs up against the wall and you're on top of them, he's the player that can kind of navigate into those like nooks and crannies in the box and kind of come out on top and have loads of space around him.
Yeah.
But we may not, they're not like that. That never happens to them. They want to surrender possession because they're just not used to having it, which is
That's one account, don't they?
Yeah, that's all they're about, and it's just. But then you look at the actual players in the team. Like Casemiro should be able to hold the ball, Fernandes should be able to hold the ball, Eriksen should be able to hold the ball. So there's a lot of players in that team that actually should be of a possession mindset. They're just not. It doesn't really make sense to me why they play the way they play.
If you listen to Man United ex-players, like all the pundits and stuff, they all say that it's because of the owners, the Glazers. That's all they've been saying the last 2 to 3 seasons. But I suppose if you've got a badly run club, it runs down, doesn't it?
It does. But you can't sit there and say that Ten Hag hasn't wanted to spend the money he's wanted to spend. He hasn't ever. I don't think you can sit there and go, they haven't given me enough money. I haven't been able to do exactly what I
give him
wanted.
enough money, but obviously.
Sorry, guys, sound issues.
You talk about the club. You were talking about the amount of money we just spent. So it was on you, Rossi. You were talking.
Yeah, I think they've had the money, but I don't think they've spent it as well as the other top teams have. And I think obviously the sporting director needs to move on. They need to get new owners, because I think them people have an effect on the club, and it's affecting the players, it's affecting the manager. They're in the media, but United are all over the place at the minute, and they're not run how we all know United have been in the past. And I think if you haven't got the right management at the top, you're not going to get it right on the pitch.
Yeah, but the whole resolution to try and get things right on the pitch is going to take time.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the expectation of that time, particularly with Man U, it doesn't seem to be. It needs to be now.
And when you've got the other teams getting better and better and better,
yeah,
and United are staying where they are, the expectations got to drop.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. I think definitely the feeling around the club's changed. I think it's put a lot more, that fear that they had is gone. And I know this is going to happen because Villa, for example, have a bad record against them. So when we play them, my expectations would be higher. I'm not expecting any result, but they can still. I still see them competing in games. They still do it. I don't think they're a million miles away, but they're just on the bad luck side, and everything seems to be going against them off and on the pitch. So it'd be. I think they got Burnley next. Be interesting to see what happens in that game. I'm expecting a Man U win. I wouldn't change. I don't. After all we said, I can still put my head on thing. Actually, the squads, I still think that Man U will win that game. But this is, we just have to wait and see.
Oh well, I always think the lower clubs do better against Man United because Man United are supposed to have full control over the game and they don't. So, but yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on to now our predictions that we made the other day. So, Howard, if you want to give us scores on the doors, please, sir.
All right, no worries. So it was, and it is 5-5-5. So Rossi has 5 points. The points were for a correct result. So home away draw, and we all literally scattered 5 randomly correct scores or results across the 10 games, and actually it was hinged on the game that ended 1-1 today, which was
I nearly got it.
Yeah, the Forest Burnley. Because me and you, Lewis, had home wins for Forest win, and then Rossi had an away win, and when I looked at it, Burnley were winning away. We're winning. So Rossi would have got 6, and obviously we would have been left on 5, but this will roll on to the next week, so it's close.
Why have I got to sit there and think that Chelsea are going to help me out? I'm pretty sure I picked Chelsea, and I'm thinking, what was I even thinking then?
Yeah, I didn't even watch. I think I watched the highlights of that game. It just seemed a bit drab, and I know the media are going in on them as well, mainly because of the amount of money spent, and the product of what you're seeing on the pitch. But their injury list is long.
Oh yeah, did you see the subs for that team?
Yeah,
it
is long. Yeah,
It
so
was, but it was boring. Now it was such a boring game. Honestly,
but I am expecting. I'm expecting a change, but as some of the pundits were saying, the reason you spend $1 billion is to get depth, and they obviously haven't got that past a certain amount of players. So it'd be interesting. I don't think any other results were. I couldn't call the Fulham Luton one. I don't know why. I still have a bad feeling about Fulham this season, but I think the manager will. I don't know what Silva will be like. I think they're close to, if they go on a bad run. I think because of the players they've lost this in the transfer window. Yeah, I think
there's loyalty issues there. It seems like, because obviously with the manager they've got, he obviously had he's definitely hasn't been loyal to the clubs that he's been at, because there's constantly wanting to switch, and obviously there was a point of him going to Stadia. I think that's had a bit of a disruption, and then obviously their midfield, Paulinho it looked like he was out the door, and then and then that ended for some reason. So I think there's a player that doesn't want to be there, and the Mitrovic effect, I think, has caused massive problems as well. So I do understand the feeling around them, because not really good last year. But players like Willian, who was and he'll admit it, awful for us. He's gone there, and he looks like the player of old. So so it'd be quite surprising to see, or interesting to see how they do over the coming weeks when it's so. So we'll do our predictions for episode 4 in a few days. So we'll do that for the upcoming Premier League. But what I want to discuss with you guys now is the Champions League and Europa League and Europa. All the Champions League battle. And the one team that's in it that hasn't been in it for a bit of a while. My team. No, but
it's better time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the games coming up, and it's just great to be back into it and to be on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. To be fair, I do enjoy the Europa League as well, but only in the latter stages of the competition. I don't feel like bigger clubs take it seriously. Like, I would not be shocked if Liverpool play a weekend team on Thursday in preparation for the weekend, where I feel like if they were in the Champions League, or like Arsenal's group's like Europa League group, weirdly enough, in the Champions League, but I feel like they're going to go all out and play a really strong team to try and get points on the board early. Seems like that's the trend, isn't it? You try and get points on the board early in the Champions League, then you play weekend team in the fifth or the sixth game. So how are you guys feeling about your teams in the competitions? It's nice that we've started a podcast and all 3 of our teams are in Europe. It seems quite fitting.
Yeah,
maybe that we planned it.
Yeah, I think it was planned. No,
we're just in the wrong one.
I love. Well, yeah.
Are you though?
Yeah, we are.
The Champions League always. I've obviously been a Villa fan. I've had to watch Europe through eyes of we weren't ever in it. So I've always liked the Champions League anyway, because it's just that elite. The music it gets me going. The games seem like, I swear, they seem different on TV. They just look different. It's because of the boardings and stuff. It just has a different feel. So I'm just really excited to see some of the clashes in Europe. So I'm going to be interested to see how Arsenal get on. Only because
4 favourites apparently.
Sorry.
I've been in the competition for 5 years and we're 4 favourites.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just it's just got to be that transition, because I know Arteta, he's had experience as a number 2, I guess, in that competition, so he must have taken some tips and tricks in there. So I'll just be interesting, because Arsenal are exciting and they can play exciting stuff. I know they're building towards their consistency, so I think just the music and all that stuff and the way they're going to be prepped for it, I'm sure they'll be up for it, and it's a nice game to get into as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're definitely favourites in your group. But I think it all depends who you draw in the knockout stages.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we come second in that group, I would definitely class that as a disappointment. And like, it's weird to say about expectations about this season, about how far I want Arsenal to go, because yeah, I'd love for us to win it, obviously. But how many teams go out of it for that long and then come back in and win it on the first try since being out for so long? So
that's the dream.
I don't. It is the dream. I don't want to sit there and go, oh, I'll be happy with the quarterfinals. I'll be happy with the semi-finals. It's kind of just like, it's great to be back. Let's see what damage we can do.
Yeah, but as a fan, it's a tournament. Any competition you're in it to win it. You're not in it to take part.
No, definitely not. But as I said, I actually don't have any expectations. The expectation I have is to get out of the group. From there on, like you say, it depends upon the teams you come across. But
yeah,
it's really weird to say. The Champions League, I do love it. I think it's fantastic. It just doesn't seem as strong as it was. But the teams just aren't, because
they're 4 lane in it.
Whatever.
No. I generally think it's because, and a lot of other kind of shows and things like that have said this. Everyone's moaning about Super Leagues and everything like that, where we already have one, and it's the Premier League, and that's where all the money is, and that's where all the money gets spent, and that's where all the best players seem to be coming to. So, and I think that is having a big effect on the Champions League, because it's teams like Inter Milan, AC Milan, Barcelona to an extent, and then all the other teams around Atletico Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain at the minute, I don't know, their team looks odd to me. So
they're in the same position as Chelsea, ain't they? They sold a lot of experience and brought in a few youngsters.
So I'm just feeling like a little bit like there should be an opportunity here for the Premier League teams to fully dominate this competition, and that's kind of where my kind of expectations will land, really. Because even if we come up across, I won't be scared coming up across the PSG or playing Barcelona. My only real fear is Real Madrid, because they just stuffily seem to get through. But that 1 year where they won the Champions League, I still can't figure out how they won. Because every game they were the worst team in it by far. There was one where they played Chelsea. Chelsea should have easily won the game, and I don't know how they didn't. So,
like Ben used to wake up in the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, he dragged them through.
He was classy.
He really did.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about PSG as well. I've predicted them to get knocked out and end up in the Europa League.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I looked at the group and it's Dortmund, Newcastle, PSG, and Milan. Yeah. And I just think Dortmund. I think they'll win it, and I think I'll put Newcastle second.
I would like to see that. I would like to see Newcastle get there, and again, just to support what Lewis was saying, just the strength of a Premier League team.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think you look at the Premier League, the best league in the world. We all know that. And for Newcastle to finish third in it last season, I know they've had a rocky start of this season in the league, but they've improved the team. They have, like, with Tonali and players like that. And I just think once they get going and how they did last season, I can't see why they can't finish second.
Yeah, well, it's Eddie Howe, isn't it? We have to see what he does and how he manages to handle it. But I bet you he's like well excited for it. And then you got like Man U, so I'm interested to see how they get on in their group.
Bayern Munich first game.
Bayern Munich first game is a tough one.
It's a very tough game.
It's a historic game, but I don't know. I can't see past a Munich win. But it's how now. I think the way Man U are playing is just how they go about their games and how well, because I think they're at the stage that they just need to. If they don't win it, then they need to take the positives out of it. So it'd be an away game is probably better for them as well, actually, just to get all the cobwebs of home just off and gone, and they can just focus on playing away.
Yeah, I'm definitely more interested. There's a few games here that I'm looking at. The Milan Newcastle one, I think, is a very interesting game.
Yeah,
and it's whenever I see Milan, I'm always interested about Tomori, because I've always been a big fan of him. So I'm always interested in watching him. And unfortunately, a lot of the games that I've watched him in for the Champions League, he has struggled, to be fair. But there's so that's definitely an interesting game I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Paris Dortmund game and thinking that's a very interesting game. kind of other than that, there isn't really any other kind of mad games on that Tuesday, and then on the Wednesday, looks like Man United Bayern. Obviously, my own team are very interested in, but then the other ones are kind of predictable games that you think. I'm looking at one here, it says Galatasaray Copenhagen. I'm thinking, is that in the right place? Is that big?
It's there.
You win this competition? There's a back door in there, snuck in. So,
to be honest,
yeah.
though, Galatasaray have signed some decent players this season.
They have. They signed some very good attacking players.
Scary
I don't know.
forward,
They could be a bit of a dark horse in the Champions League.
I don't know how they're doing in the leagues though, because I don't really pay attention. But yeah, it'll be. I love the kind of the predictions, the random games that sometimes I pick up and watch that just end up being like 4-3 and just randomly competitive. I was going to ask you actually, do you know whether so you know the Premier League has made changes and the rest in terms of time stuff? Is that on the Champions League as well?
I think so.
It's universal because it's across the board for most leagues, isn't it? I believe so.
Because I'm sure in the Champions League last season it was longer than usual.
Yeah. Okay. Their decision making on VAR and things like that seems to be a lot swifter in the Champions League last season. I remember thinking so, but I think they've always highlighted that the referees in the Champions League have always been a lot better than in the Premier League, which obviously completely different competitions. But yeah, the game seems to run a bit more smoothly, I find, in the Champions League. There's definitely last season. So, if we look at the
I was going to say, more importantly, I was going to talk about obviously Villa playing on a Thursday in the best.
Is that more important? Not the least important of all three we're going to speak about.
No, it's the most important to me, and that's the most important to this.
I'm having mic issues. I've got to go.
Yeah. Nah, I'm just happy to have some European games. I don't really care.
It's nice for you to be back in Europe, ain't it?
It's nice, yeah. It's nice for them to make a competition for us to be allowed to play in. But no, I'll just I think we'll hopefully do quite well. I'm interested to see what Emery does and what squads that we put out. I'm really interested to see how we juggle the Premier League and the Europe balance, because we've got two tough games in between the European games. We've got Chelsea and then we've got Brighton.
You said tough games?
Yeah.
You got one tough game. It was one tough game then.
No, they're both again Chelsea.
I think Chelsea,
away.
That team though, you don't really know how the game's going to go.
That's what scares me about them.
You could draw.
I still think they're
anything can happen.
They're good run and they're good. They can like a good football performance, and you don't know what you're going to get. And it's always when teams have gone on a certain run, you don't want to be the next one to play them just in case their run ends.
Yeah.
And they just turn up. So that's why I think it's a tough one. And away games, I don't care where you are, they're always tough, at least for a part of it. So, but yeah, Legia. I also thought it was Warsaw, but it's spelt like Warsaw. Is that a different? Yeah. It may be a different one.
Is it Warsaw?
What group are you? What group are you in?
We're in group. Good question. Don't know what group we're in.
I'm trying to find it. I can't even see it on my screen here, but yeah.
Just type in on Google Mickey Mouse Cup and it'll come up.
Nah, it doesn't really say what group it is, but we've got AZ Alkmaar. We've got Zrinski Mostar.
I've got West Ham on the phone. It's a major trophy. It's a major trophy, apparently.
It's a major trophy, man. So it's going to be interesting. I'll just random teams. It's going to be good times.
Yeah. To be fair, Liverpool's one's a bit random as well. You've got Union SG to lose in the last, and I'm like, I think you're going to be resting players. I really do. I think Liverpool are going to be running out some players that they think that they want to see. I don't think it'll be split. I agree.
Yeah. I think it'll be half and half, because with Nunes not starting and Harvey Elliott, Endo, Gravenberch, I think they'll be getting a running starting in the starting 11. So I think we'll have a mixture of some first team players and some youngsters and subs. But my thoughts on us being in the Europa League, I'm not really happy with it. But I think that's what we deserved. We weren't good enough last season to get in the top 4. And you look at the other teams, and I highly expect us to win this competition.
Yeah, should do.
I don't expect nothing less. I'll be really disappointed if we don't win it.
Yeah, I'm on the same sort of thought process of you, because you've got like likes of West Ham, Ajax, Marseille, obviously Brighton are in there as well. Atalanta.
Rangers.
Do you know what?
Rangers. Is that our team beat 7-1?
I had to say it. You
I
got
thought it
Roma.
was Sheriff over Rangers. Jesus Christ. Hilarious. I do want to close it the podcast. I'm gonna go fanboy, and I want to do it on one player. And I kind of want you two to do the same. I kind of caught you off guard with this topic. Who's the one player in this Premier League who is not the most like an obvious player, who is just getting you a little bit giddy, and you're thinking,
And you can't pick a player at your own team.
I actually wasn't going to. Mine is for Howard's team, and it's Diaby. This guy is. Oh, my language! You have to come in. He's excited. I've done 3 episodes, and I swore. Yeah, he's just exciting. He really the way he gets that team going, and the way he moves, and his goal threat is unbelievable. I think that he's going to be getting some big numbers this season. I think he's the real deal, and he's making other players around him look a lot better. And I think if Villa can kind of tweak that team a little bit, I don't know what McGinn's doing it sometimes on the way he drifts out and everything. I kind of want to see a bit more central, but I think if you can get Diaby and Bailey going, and Diaby pushes Bailey, which I'm kind of seeing a little bit, and then Ollie Watkins starts scoring, that can be a very formidable front line, because it's quite exciting.
Interesting. I'm glad you said that. That's made me feel happy.
Whatever, man. Go on, then.
Let me think.
One player.
What's
it turning on and getting up and walking off?
Well, it's an obvious player. So he's not an obvious player, so I can't say like a Maddison. Or can I?
Mm-hmm. You can say you want. It's your opinion.
Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go with a person that I wish we got over the summer, which was Barnes from at Newcastle. He's got that kind of control, that speed thing going on, and he's fearless, man. He likes to run at players, and he's got a good finish in him. Reminds me, obviously, a bit of like the finishing that Walcott did for Arsenal. He's just got that about him. I always thought Walcott was a quality finisher. He just seemed to get some random goals in. But Barnes gives me that vibe. And the thing I like about players as well is their effort and their work rate, and he's got that. So his base is always a 6-7 in a game, because he runs and he plays well, but then he can give you that extra. So I would say I like the look of Barnes. He gets me giddy when he plays. Giddy.
Okay, Rossi, which Arsenal player you picking, mate?
I want to go for a player where not many people probably really speak about him. I want to go for Solly March. I think he's a player where for a couple of seasons he's been decent, but I think towards the end of last season and this season so far, he's been Brighton's best player. And I don't hear anyone giving him enough credit. I think the way he's on that wing, and he's like in control of Brighton's attack. When they're on the attack, it's all through him. And I just think he's grown into that team so well. But the whole Brighton team's good, but he stands out for me for that Brighton team.
I like it. I like it. That's a very interesting take. So we are going to call it there, guys. It's been great talking about all these different subjects and everything like that. And now we're going to get the consistency going of doing podcasts coming out on a Tuesday, podcasts coming out on a Friday. And you will see this running thing where the Tuesday ones will be about results, be about facts, where the Thursday ones will be a little bit more about how our imaginations run wild. So what I want to say is just keep the support going, because we're loving this. You keep us going. And I want to see some more comments in there, so we can have some debates in the comments as well. Like and subscribe. You're going to see some more daft shorts coming from us as well, which we really enjoy doing. So yeah, really appreciate the support you're giving us so much, guys. And we will see you on the next podcast. So thank you very much, guys. It's bye from me, bye from Howard,
bye
from me.
Take care, everyone, man.